Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Tudo Tuga, the Everything Portuguese Soccer podcast by the fans for the fans. My name is Kevin Jesus, of course, as always, with Christian Ferreira and Mitch Ferreira. Boys, welcome aboard. This is episode number 3, a historic episode, the first time that we are actually live streaming this podcast. So, of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast on YouTube. And if you do happen to have any questions, feel free to pass them along, and we will try and get to them as well. There's lots to get to. You know, when there is, ahead of the tournament, of course, everyone's excited, so we're all feeling pretty good. And then things go off the rails, and then suddenly everyone's angry, and we have a lot to talk about. And that's exactly what's happening here, because we are nearing the end of the group stage, and it hasn't quite gone perfectly for Portugal. But before we get to that, let's start at the beginning. Portugal opened things up in Hungary, in Budapest, and it turned out to be pretty good. A 3-0 win, although it took a little while to get to that point. So, Christian, Mitch, what happened there in that opening game?
Yeah, it was what we kind of talked about coming into this, that Hungary was going to be at home. They had 60,000 fans. I mean, it was great to see the stadium packed the way it was, hearing fans scream again and chanting. The ambience was unreal, and it really did. It was a 12th man for Hungary, right? It was a huge motivator. They came out and they gave us a really difficult game. They set up shop, they parked, basically 11 behind the ball for 85 minutes, and they ran and ran and ran. They chased the ball for 85 minutes, but at the same time, I really wasn't a fan of the way Fernando Santos came out with William and Daniel. As soon as we saw the lineup, you and I said the same thing. The fuck is he doing? Yeah. Why are we going to 2-3? Yeah. It ended up, as soon as they got, it was going to come to a point, it was unsustainable. The way Hungary was playing, it was just unsustainable. The amount of running that they were doing, even with 5 subs, they weren't going to be able to maintain that intensity of that high pressure that they were doing. It wasn't sustainable. So eventually we were able to break them down. I think we scored, arguably one of the nicest goals of the tournament. Definitely the best team goal of the tournament. 33 passes. It just, it was a testament of what we can do, of how talented this team is. But I don't know about you, we talked about it. Even though it was a 3-0 win, you and I sat back and it was like, whew. I don't think it was that outstanding performance that we were expecting against. Yeah.
I think if you guys listened to our podcast last week, actually we were both right with our predictions. I said it was going to be a really close game. They're going to be really hard to break down. They're going to be really organized and defensive. And I said 2-0, and then you called 3-0. So we're actually both right, because it ended up going to the 84th minute before we scored. And like Mitch just brought up, right when we seen Danilo and William together, we're like, man, we're playing Hungary here. Let's show what Portugal can do, right? And once we switched up those 2-3, Renato came in, Rafa, which I gotta say, I was really mad when he came on. I didn't agree with it, but he actually ended up coming in really well, and he did well.
Yeah, from that son's credit, I'm sure when they keep it. He made the right subs at the right time. He saw the game needed some speed to start to get past that defensive line, that kind of last line of defense. Rafa and Renato were 2 good subs, and I think that definitely changed.
So I think we could both agree you got the lineup wrong, but the subs are right. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it worked out, because Portugal came away with a big 3-0 win. They were looking good after that first game. Everyone is feeling pretty confident, and then came Saturday in Munich at the Allianz Arena, Portugal taking on Germany. Look, we all knew that it was going to be an uphill battle. Taking on Germany is always a difficult prospect. Doing it in Munich is always difficult, and Germany was coming off a loss against France. So there was a lot going on there. Portugal certainly played, with their backs up against the wall right from the very get-go. They were just playing defense the entire time. It looked like they didn't want to do anything offensively. They took advantage on the counterattack. Things looked pretty good, and then the wheels came off the track. What the heck went wrong in Munich?
So I think me and Mitch, we might have a different opinion on who we play and and like what lineups we start. But I think we could both agree that Fernando Santos got this completely wrong. Completely wrong. I feel like France gave us the blueprint of how to beat Germany. You know, they were really well organized defensively, which Fernando Santos is usually good at, but he didn't like understand that Germany's power is through the wingbacks. That's where they create most of their offense, even against against France. You can see France, they had Griezmann coming back. They had like all their wingers. It was a team effort to defend them. Whereas I think in Portugal, where I think he got it wrong, is he played those four up front, and they're not the best defensively. Ruben Smith had a horrible game, and then even Guerreiro, you know, one-on-one. My opinion is, you know, he's not the best on the wingback, defending the wingback's position. One-on-one, he's, you know, really shaky. And I feel like after the first two goals, they were the exact same, and Fernando Santos did not change the lineup. You could see their game plan going into it. Right away after the second goal, you'd think that Fernando Santos, you know, would adjust to that.
We had the benefit of a water break.
Yes, a cool down break.
Fucking timeout.
Yeah.
Which you normally don't get.
Yeah.
At that point, we'd already been scored on.
Yeah.
You know. To me,
actually, three times.
Five times
Yeah.
in the exact same.
Yeah.
Way.
Yeah.
The first goal that they scored, it was
Yeah.
offside. It was
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
It was the same play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. He lost the plot on this one.
Oh, 100%.
And you know what some people don't understand is when Fernando Santos chooses to play the two drinks or the two, you know, center defensive mids, William Danilo. Just naturally, they're very slow players, right?
And did you notice they could have held hands the whole game?
You know,
they're playing in the exact same
100%.
spot.
They're very similar players.
Yes.
Right. Danilo maybe has a couple of notches of speed
Yeah.
ahead of William, but not by much.
Not by much.
So, you know, just naturally, they're two players that like to sit back and play in that classic six.
Yes.
Okay. So when he plays with two and then plays with Bruno Fernandes, Jota, Ronaldo, and Bernardo Silva, it's missing that link.
Yes, for
the
sure.
link between kind of our back line
Yes.
and Bruno Fernandes
Yes.
and the rest of the team. And that's where our midfield kind of dies because these guys their work rate is high, right?
Yes.
Because they're constantly working to close down those passing lanes.
Mhm.
Their off the ball work rate is extremely high. So they exhaust themselves really quickly. And it's a tough position, especially playing against a team like Germany who plays with four in the middle and three up front.
Yes.
And what happened is, if you really rewatch the goals, what was happening was Germany played a very smart system where they play Serge Gnabry
They did their homework.
in a striker role, right? And then they play almost two interior wingers,
Mhm.
either side of Gnabry. They play right behind Gnabry, and they're kind of like interior wingers.
Mhm.
And their job is to basically slot in between our left back, our right back, and our center backs.
Yeah.
In between the left and right backs and the center backs. And what that was doing is it was drawing Nelson Semedo and Rafael Guerreiro into the middle.
Mhm.
As soon as we go into the middle, because Serge Gnabry is kind of playing that striker role,
Mhm.
and he's drawing the attention of our two center backs because he's going kind of weaving in and out. And those two kind of interior wingers take the attention of Nelson Semedo and Rafael Guerreiro. It all of a sudden left room for their wing backs to overlap. And this is where Fernando Santos gets it wrong. Because after the first goal, that was offside, after the second goal, he needed to make a tactical change.
Mhm.
He either needed to move Danilo into a center back position
role.
and go five across the
Exactly.
back so that your three center backs are now taking their three, and then that allows our left and right back to cover the overlapping wing back. Or he uses the two trench to man mark Havertz and Mueller that were basically coming in there. Because as soon as they drop back to man mark, again, it allows our left and right back to mark that overlapping wing back. He didn't do either of those things.
Mhm.
He didn't do anything.
I agree.
He did nothing. And that's where I say Fernando Santos lost the plot in this game.
100%.
How does it coach at the water break, at halftime, after the third goal, the fourth goal? Like, at what point do you start to make the changes to either combat it or to fix it? And he didn't do anything.
Yes.
And that's where I just don't understand about Fernando Santos in this game.
100%. You hit the nail on the head. I was going to actually bring that up, but yeah, you hit the nail on the head. So another thing I have an issue with Fernando Santos, and I don't know if you agree with me on this. he's sort of stuck between 2016 Portugal and 2021 Portugal. So it's either, if you're gonna have Bruno, if you're gonna have Jota, Bernardo, and Ronaldo, and your attacking front, you need the ball. You need possession. You need to have the ball. You can't have those 4 players up front, drop William and Danilo back, and expect for those 4 players to come back and defend. Let's get real here, man. You can hate on all these players you want, but that's not their forte. That's not their strengths. You got to play to their strengths, And he has 26 players to choose from. So I feel like he doesn't have an identity. It's either you go back, you play really compressed and defend as a unit like we did in 2016, or we go forward and choose to play a different kind of soccer, which Fernando Santos has not been doing, which is possession, skill, pressing high.
But does he know? Does he know how to play that system, Christian?
That's the thing. I don't think so. I think it's new.
Yeah, remember, this guy came from coaching Greece.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
He came into Portugal. We're very much a Ronaldo plus 10.
Yes. And he was perfect for that.
Is he still stuck in that small team mentality?
I think he is.
Well, at some point, you have to adjust with the times, and you have to be able to move on. There's no doubt that Fernando Santos, they should build a statue in his honor for what he did in 2016.
Yes.
Of course, also winning with the Nations League. But there comes a point where the game, I don't want to say passes you by, but you have to adjust with what you have. In case in point, I'm a big NHL guy as well. The Vegas Golden Knights, they lost a game the other night against the Montreal Canadiens in the Stanley Cup semifinal. Marc-Andre Fleury, with a terrible play behind the net, gave the puck away, basically gave the game away. And then what does Vegas do the very next game? They turn around and they put the backup goalie inside Robin Lehner, and that made all the difference. Vegas ended up winning. You have to make the adjustments. You have to go with what's making right. The one thing that's interesting in that Germany game was Robin Gosens there, the man of the match for Germany. A lot of people pointing out how it was a bit of revenge because there was one day a couple of years ago in Serie A where he asked Cristiano Ronaldo for a jersey and Ronaldo snubbed him. And that, maybe motivated him. So that leads us actually to some questions. We have some questions from the fans. Thank you so much for all of you who have been submitting your questions and following along. So I'm going to throw this one out there. This one's from Kevin Gerald. We were talking about Gosens here. So why did Fernando Santos leave Gosens wide open? And is it smarter to play with a winger who defends more like Pote? So you guys take that one away.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I just mentioned earlier, to have those 4 players up at the front against this Germany side, their defensive work rate's not too well. And being a sporting fan, I got the pleasure of watching Pot play a lot. And one thing that he was really, really good for is coming back and defending. He would come back right to the corner line and defend, get the ball back, bring it up, and run up. Where, other than that pass, because that pass Bernardo Silva did was absolutely beautiful. He had a really bad game. But I think that's more of the coach, because Bernardo Silva is not that player. You can't expect a player that doesn't do that to all of a sudden go and do that, So yeah, he defensively coming back, he was really weak, really, really weak. So yeah, I feel like that's a great question. And I feel like Fernando Santos hasn't really done that this tournament. He has so much talent on the bench. He's not mixing it up. If you look at all the subs, they've been the exact same. It's been Renato and Rafa. And the starting lineup has been the exact same.
So then let's get to some of these lineup questions, because there's a lot of people who are quite passionate about lineups. I know, Mitch, the last couple of episodes, you've been big on it, so maybe you can kind of get the ball rolling here. So this one comes from Kyle Dufresne. Why is Santos playing Semedo? He's horrible.
Kyle, I agree with you. We talked about it in our very first episode. I was very shocked Nelson Semedo cracked this squad.
Yeah.
We watched him all year at Wolves. He's never been the same player since he got absolutely roasted by Alphonso Davies in the Champions League, I think it was semifinal.
Yeah. A beatdown that they got
against Bayern. Ever since he got absolutely roasted by Davies that game, he's never been the same player. He got sold to Wolves, which is a big demotion from Barca to Wolves. And all year he played that wing back position for Wolves, and he didn't play well. I'll be honest, I was surprised Semedo made this lineup. I felt like Cedric is maybe not as good attacking, but
Defensively, he's great.
way better defensively. And I mean, I think nobody could have predicted that Cancelo was going to come down with COVID and Semedo was going to have to be the go-to. That being said, we called up Diogo Dalot.
Great
Diogo Dalot is a Manchester United player that was on loan to AC Milan this year. He played very, very well for AC Milan. He didn't get a ton of starts, but he played very well. At this point in time, I'm looking at it saying, you know what, we need to go with Dalot against France. I'm taking Semedo out.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. After that game, you have to take him out.
Yeah.
So let's get to some other quick questions here about lineups. This one from Chris Ramos. Can Menj and Felix make the lineup after injuries? Danny Fernandes, is this the singer? I don't know. Do Bernardo Silva and Bruno Fernandes work together in the starting 11? And Rich Ferreira asks, how do you think Bruno will match up against Conte? So let's start with Chris Ramos. The Menj Felix, will they make the lineup after injuries?
I believe so. Felix today was training with the lineup. Honestly, like Felix, I feel like he's missing in this lineup right now. He has a lot of creativity. He's great passing with the ball. He could finish. I feel like introducing him into this lineup will be a great feature. For against France, yeah.
But who do you take him? Who do you take out for? Bernardo Silva?
So what I would do, yes. And it's not because Bernardo Silva is doing bad. He's a great player. I feel like the lineup that we need to put out against France would be better because we're going to be counterattacking them without him, and then put him in the second half as a sub. So the lineup I have here is I play. Obviously, he's not going to do this, but one thing that was left out is how bad Patricio did last game too with his feet. He kicked the ball out how many times? He was horrible on his feet. I don't think this is going to happen. So I put either Lopez or Rui Silva, but I don't expect that to happen. But my back four would be Menj, Diaz, Pep, Dalot. In the middle, Plaguinha, Renat, Bruno, and up front, Felix, Jota, Ronaldo. I feel like that's a great balance of the team to combat France. We have a lot of speed, we have a lot of creativity, and we're shaking up the lineup. I think this, for me, would be a great lineup to put up against France.
Okay, so Mitch, do Bernardo Silva and Bruno Fernandes work together in the starting 11?
Simple answer, no. They don't have the chemistry. That's not to say that they couldn't. When we talk about this team not having an identity, Fernandes hasn't quite found the right mix to get the best out of a player like Bernardo Silva and Bruno Fernandes together.
Yeah.
I still feel like Bruno Fernandes gets lost in these games, and it's been 2 games now where he just completely disappears. Yeah. And I really think it's that aquela falta de ligação between what he's got, the 2 treinos,
Danilo and William, right?
Danilo and William. There's this space that Bruno just gets lost in, and he's the type of player, you see him with Man United, the way that he plays really well. He's got 2 really good central midfielders who support him, but they push higher up and they get him the ball, and he can kind of take the ball in that just past half area where he can actually take the ball at his feet, run up, and start making magic happen. Play a beautiful ball in, have a goal from 30 yards out. We just haven't seen that, and I don't know if it's just Fernandes hasn't figured out the right lineup to get the best out of someone like a Bruno Fernandes and a Bernardo Silva together. But
quick question for you, Mitch: if you had to take one of them out, who would it be?
No, good question.
Because if they don't work together, if you had to pick between one of them.
So I would honestly, and it's struggle, and this is the struggle for Fernandes too. I would take Bruno Fernandes out. Yeah. I would take Bruno Fernandes out because, number one, he's the player who's coming into this tournament with the most minutes on his legs. He's played the most football this year. I think he's a bit fatigued, and we just have not seen anything out of him. And I think when we've got a guy like Pedro Gonçalves, who's sitting on the bench, that plays that position very well.
Great 2-way player, too.
He was the Golden Boot winner in the Portuguese league. I mean, man, how do you not give a kid like that a chance? But now the question is, well, you're going to give a kid like that a chance against France in a game that we need to win over Bruno Fernandes?
But then
But
the
then,
problem,
you know-
but then the problem because every game becomes a must-win from here on in. So at some point you got to make that decision.
100%.
You got to go with the hot hand and whoever you think is going to help give you that
It's
best
one of those-
opportunity.
It's one of those decisions. If he chooses to pull Bruno Fernandes in a game like this and put somebody like a Pedro Gonçalves, and we lose, people are gonna be like, "Are you fucking kidding me? How the hell do you take Bruno Fernandes out in a game against France?"
Yeah.
Or he puts in a guy like Pedro Gonçalves, the guy scores a goal, has 2 assists, has the game of his life, and Fernandes looks like a.
Is he the coach to do it?
Is he the coach to have the courage?
I don't think
to do
so.
it? I don't know.
That's the story of coaching. Every decision gets second guessed, and that's why podcasts like this exist. So let's start moving on towards Portugal, France. And there's a good question here from Rich Ferreira. How do you think Bruno will match up against Conte?
I feel like if Bruno does play, which I think he will, he'll match up well. He's done well against him in the Prem. They go heads up all the time. I feel like the real question is how do you get the most out of Bruno so he can match up against Conte? Is he going to get the ball? Is he going to press forward? Is he going to make those through balls, those shots from distance? I think that's the main question. I don't feel like I think Bruno at his peak, if he's used correctly and has a good game, I think he'll do great against Conte.
I don't think it's up to Bruno.
Yeah,
I think
so.
it's up to his supporting cast.
Oh, 100%.
Conte's job is going to be to take Bruno out of that game.
Oh, 100%.
So his ability to shine in that game is going to depend on his supporting cast.
For sure.
It's what midfield, because Bruno is only as good as the midfield he's playing in.
Yeah.
So if he chooses to play with William and Danilo, Conte is going to have a field day with Bruno. It's going to be a walk in the park all day. Because he's completely ineffective when Fernando Santos is playing with two tricks.
Yeah.
If Fernando Santos goes in with if Fernando Santos chooses to play Renato Sanches and a Palhinha or Renato Sanches and Danilo, different story. So it's going to be a different midfield battle, and Conte is going to have a lot harder time trying to.
So, quick question for you, Mitch. What players do you think need to enter this lineup to get the most out of Bruno? Because obviously the two things are not working.
No, if it were me,
Yes,
I would be putting Palhinha and Renato Sanches.
I agree.
I don't think Danilo's got the legs. I mean, I don't know how the fuck Danilo plays 90 minutes against Germany.
Mind blowing.
O gajo estava completamente desgastado, man. Like, he was dead.
Yeah.
He was dead.
So the one thing with Palhinha that I agree with you on is that he's a different player than Danilo. So I feel like another issue that we had against Germany, we had a lot of players moving the ball left to right. We had Bernardo Silva doing that. We had William doing that. We had Danilo doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even Bruno Fernandes was doing that. We have a lot of players just slowing down the game, bringing it back. Move left to right. We don't have direct players. So a good thing with Palhinha and Renato is very direct. I think he's the most direct, other than Ronaldo, he's the most direct player we have. And he made a huge difference. And Palhinha, he's arguably one of the best ball winners we got. And another thing that I like about him, he's also very direct. He shoots the ball forward. He takes risks. And that's something that Portugal is missing, in my opinion.
So the game against France, normally I would ask you guys, so how do you think it's going to go? Win, loss, blah, blah, blah. But none of that matters right now. Because right now, Portugal is in a very unique situation. They actually have an advantage being the last group games being played because they get to know how everything's going to play out. So Portugal versus France, right now, Portugal sitting in third place, they've got 3 points. So it's really simple. What are the options here? So if Portugal beats France, perfect, we're on our way in. If Portugal draws, but Hungary loses to Germany or draws against Germany, hey, we're good too. If Portugal loses by no more than 2 goals plus a Hungary loss and draw, Portugal's through as a third place team because right now Finland has 3 points, 1 goal, 4 minus 2 goal differential. Ukraine 3 points, 4 goals, 4 minus 1. Portugal 3 points, 5 goals, 4 and plus 1. So Portugal does have the advantage in that aspect. So they can go into the game knowing they could lose 2-0 and they would advance as a third place team. We all know that's how Portugal got to the Euro 2016 championship, was by sneaking in the back door in third place. But surely you don't want to go into a game knowing that you can lose by 2, and that makes all the difference. So if you're Fernando Santos, what is the strategy here? I think personally, and I don't like throwing my opinions out here too much because this is all about you guys, but personally, Portugal needs to play the way they play. Play their advantage. Play the way they got to this tournament. Don't play to lose. Don't play to draw. Play the way you need to do, and that's how you're going to, mess up France. That's how you're going to frustrate them. That's how you're going to slow them down. Instead, if you automatically go into the game like they did against Germany, where they played to not lose or to draw, they're going to lose.
Yeah, 100%.
And if they lose, we're in trouble, especially because once you let in that first goal, then you start getting that pressure, right? And you get that nervousness, and it's like, oh my gosh, we can't afford to let in another goal. Heaven forbid a second goal goes in. Now what? The pressure is there. This is a very dangerous situation. At the same time, it's a good situation for Portugal because they have a good idea of what is expected. And of course, this is not to say there's more group stage games coming up, which could change all of the perspectives and all that stuff. And who knows, maybe Portugal will already be pretty much there before the game is even played. Still, it makes things very interesting. So, guys, what are you expecting? What do we think is going to happen here?
So to add on to that, I wrote down, if we get third, it's either Holland or Belgium. If we get second, it's England. So there's no easy games here. To add on to what you said about if we lose 2-0, we could still get through. I feel like we should come into this game wanting to win because we'll build momentum. We're coming off a 2-0 loss and a 4-2 loss going into the knockouts against Holland and Belgium. Our morales would be very low. I feel like we have a lot of making up to do. We go in there, if we get a win against France, or even if we tie, but show a really good game, even if we lose 1-0 and we see a Portugal that's going, has chances, could have easily won the game, could have easily had the game, then it's something to build off of. I feel like if we go in there, again, having another bad game, the coach tactically getting it wrong, playing William Danilo submitted, no changes, I feel like, we can go forward, but are we really, having the right mindset to win this tournament? I know everybody talks about Portugal getting third place and winning the tournament, but if you look at those games, you could have won all those games. We were playing good. Like against Austria, we missed the penalty shot. We could have won. The first game, we had plenty of chances to win. The last game, it was back and forth. They had a couple deflections. It was 3-3. And you seen that hunger. You seen the team coming back from adversity, coming back, scoring, tying. 2-1, coming back, tying it. 3-1, coming back, tying it. You've seen some momentum. You've seen a lot of good, even though we got there. You've seen a lot of, Portugal, could have won here, or, there's a lot of things going against us, though, that we're persevering.
Yeah.
I feel like if we go and now, after that really bad loss against Germany, to go and lose 2-0 to France after, our morale and our momentum is going to be really, really
strong.
strong.
Let me ask you something. So you said a very important word there, which is mindset. If you're a player right now, you're playing for the Seleção, and you listen to the Ferment after the Germany game,
it's brutal.
In the post game, say what team in the world comes to Germany and expects to beat Germany and thinks they're going to beat Germany. If you are a player after the game, what is your mindset?
That's a losing mentality. That's what you mentioned earlier, and I feel like you hit the nail right on the head. What's your identity? What's Fernando Santos implementing on the players? To be a small team. That's what he's putting on the lineup, that we're still a small team, that we're not as good as France. I'm telling you, on paper, man, we have one of the best national teams in the world, man. Bar France, skill level and players and depth, we're top 3 in the world, top 4 in the world, easily.
We need to remember that we are the defending champions.
We have 2 badges on us. We have the we have the Nations League, and we have the Euro badge. We have 2 badges on us. Start playing like we do.
Play like champions.
Exactly.
He's got to change the mindset. I don't know if he said that out of frustration, because it wasn't the post game press conference. It was the flash interview, right? So I don't know if he said that just out of frustration.
Well, I think you're right, Mitch. I think it is frustration because everyone was saying Portugal was the favorite. So I think he was trying to calm the nerves and be like, guys. But at the same time, you're right. That mentality, it's a defeatist mentality. It's a typical Portuguese mentality.
Yeah. And I really hope he changed the tune. Because every single player heard that.
Yeah.
So I really hope he came back. And I don't know if you guys heard yesterday, he made a comment saying, if tomorrow was the Euro final and it was Portugal-Germany, Portugal would win. So you can already tell he's trying to dar a volta, for what he said.
He probably had a little talking to from Cristiano Ronaldo and the other leaders in that locker room. That brings us to some more questions here from our wonderful fans and subscribers. Once again, don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. So Paul De Silva asks, what happens to Santos and the team if Portugal is eliminated? I don't even want to think about that, but I'll ask you guys that question. But the other one, and this is the one that I want you guys to start with, Joao Martins asks, what do fans want? Play good and lose, or play bad and win? I want to answer that first one because when I saw that question, I was like, I need to answer this. I don't care how they could literally be standing back there passing the ball 500 times, fans whistling, booing. At the end of the day, if they win, that's all that matters because no one's going to remember how that game was won. All we're going to remember is the W and lifting a championship at the end. So I don't care how it looks, just win the game. What do you guys think?
I agree. Obviously, you'd rather win, but my counter to that is we have a team to play good and win. Before in 2016, let's get real here, man. We didn't have what we have now. How we won is to defend, play really defense, play bad in quotations and win. But now we don't have to play bad and win. Why not play good and win?
Look, everybody's got eyes on their fucking face. Did everybody not see the first goal we scored against Germany?
Oh, beautiful.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Coming in with 2 trains. What are we talking about? The quality, those top 3, Jota, Bernardo Silva, and Cristiano Ronaldo, I will put those 3 against any fucking top 3 in the world. What are we talking about? Coming in with 2 trains. Man, I get in Euro 2016, I get his strategy. I get it.
Yeah, of course. Well, you had João Mario, Adrian.
We were a very mediocre team.
Yes, of course.
I get it. He did what we needed to do, and God bless him for it.
Yeah, and that's what I think his strengths are.
But this is a different team, and don't get me wrong. I want to see Portugal win, but we also need to look at who's on the bench and who do we have at our disposal. And if you can play hoje nos olhos with any seleção in the world, with the players that you have at your disposal, you need to do that. The problem is he hasn't figured out how to do it. That's the problem. Is we're at Euro, we're coming into our last game, at the group stage against France, and he still hasn't fucking figured it out.
No,
and that's the.
We talked about that the first podcast. Remember, we said he doesn't have an identity. We don't know how he's going to play. So, quick question for you, Mitch. How would you play against France? Would you play to neutralize France and hit him on the counterattack? Because if we play that way, we can't play with those 4 up front. Yeah. Or would you play the team that we've been talking about that Portugal has, where we play with possession and attack them with all the skilled players we have? What would be your approach against France? I'm actually curious.
God, it's tough because it's France.
Yes,
right. It's tough because it's France. Had we shown signs, and not to say that we haven't shown signs, because we just talked about a beautiful counterattack, the 33 pass.
And how nice was that play from Ronaldo? He cleared it from the line. He ran the length of the field in 10 seconds and finished it.
I think the coach, he needs to really gauge the confidence of the players. And man, we're not there in training. Like, we're not seeing what players are showing sparks of brilliance in training.
Mm-hmm.
And Andre Silva, Andre Silva came on really well against Germany. A kid like that can come on. He can make. It really comes down to what Fernando Santos is seeing in training and what he's trying out. What kind of different systems he's trying in training to see what works best. We don't see that. We only get to see the 90 minutes come game day. We don't get to see all of the behind the scenes.
And how come he added Andre Silva at the 84th minute? We were down 4-1 and 4-2. he puts in Moutinho, and Rafa, I understand, probably want a little bit more speed. But those are the players he put on. I was mind blown. What's the mindset of Andre Silva? Sorry, Kevin.
No, don't.
Coming on after an amazing season he had at the 84th minute when we're 4-2 down and 4-1 down.
Well, one of our friends, Andre, made a really good point on Saturday during the game when he said, why are you not afraid to make it a substitution even in the 30th minute? You see that the way the game's progressing, just make those early substitutions, and that's what you got to do. Don't wait till the second half. Don't wait until the 80th minute because you're going to run out of time to make that stuff. So Paul De Silva has the question, what happens to Santos and the team if Portugal is eliminated? I will also, as you guys answer that, make the prediction. Portugal, France, what happens? We'll start with you, Christian.
So what happens to Fernando Santos? What I hope happens is he gets fired. Me and Mitch talked about this a lot. I would like to bring up a different mindset, a different coach, a different philosophy. A perfect guy, in my opinion, is Rui Jorge. He's been with the U21 team for how many years? 10 years? A very long time. He knows all the talent. He knows all the skilled players. And I feel like, he wouldn't be scared to take, put in a couple other players, add a little bit more flavor, change up the dynamic a little bit. So, yeah, I personally think if he does not make it out of the group with this team playing, and if it was as poor as against Germany, out. But
so what's your prediction?
So at the same time, I'll give you my prediction in a second. We do it by me saying this, we still appreciate what he did. Don't get me wrong. Fernando Santos is going to be in the history books. I'm not being ungrateful for what he did. I'm so happy he won us the Euro. I'll always praise him for that, and the Nations League. But how many teams like Mourinho, one of the most, the coach that won the most, he gets fired all the time. Just because you won us something, you don't guarantee that job. You know what I mean? The game evolves. And then my prediction, it could go either way. It depends. If he makes a couple switches, if he adds in a few players, for me the biggest one is the midfield, and for sure Ruben Smith, because Ruben Smith he's going to be coming up against Mbappe. That's Ruben Smith. So if he makes a few switches, I can see something positive because the players do want to, make a statement like Germany did after a loss. Come out. I can see 1-0 Portugal, or a tie, or if he doesn't switch anything, I can see us losing. I can honestly see we're playing France here.
Way to go, Christian. You're just giving every single possible outcome. I love it.
I'll give my honest opinion. I would say a tie. Honestly.
Okay, you're going with a tie, right?
I'll go 1-1.
Mitch, go ahead. Answer Paul's question. What happens if the team gets eliminated, and what is your prediction?
Yeah, like Christian said, even if we don't get eliminated, to me, I think Fernando Santos, this needs to be his last tournament. Whether we end up throwing a Hail Mary here and going deep into this tournament, I think regardless, this needs to be Fernando Santos' last tournament. I think he's proven that we've outgrown his mentality, his coaching style, and like you said, we need something fresh, whether it be a Rui Jorge, whether it be a Marco Silva, who's out there right now looking for a team, whether it be a Paulo Sousa. I don't know, man. There's certainly no shortage of great Portuguese coaches.
Would you get an immigrant coach?
No, I wouldn't. Not with the pool of amazing Portuguese coaches that we have. I think regardless of what Portugal does in this tournament, I think we've evolved and we've outgrown Fernando Santos.
100%.
What's your prediction?
Prediction for the game. I'm honestly hoping for Portugal win. My heart is saying a 1-0 win for Portugal. That's what my heart is saying. My head is saying put it this way, if Fernando Santos makes some wholesale changes, I think we can get a 1-0 win against France.
That's exactly right.
If we do not change anything, Portugal will lose this game and lose it handily. Like we will get spanked by France if he does not make some serious changes. So I feel like
what are some of those changes?
He takes Nelson Semedo out.
Yes, I agree.
He takes Rafael Guerreiro out. If Nuno Mendes is healthy, I would put in Nuno Mendes. I would take out Danilo and William, and I would replace it with Bainha and Renato Sanches.
Yes.
And then up front, potentially take out Bernardo Silva for João Felix, again, depending on how healthy Felix is. And then Bruno Fernandes for Pedro Gonçalves, it's a toss-up, man. I would be okay either way. Because I think Bruno needs to step up.
We made history. We completely agree with each other on our lineups and everything. So it's the first time on this podcast. You took the words right out of my mouth. I would pick the identical lineup that you just chose. But
I love it. I'm going to go with Christian, and I'm going to say that it is going to be a draw. I'm going to go with a scoreless draw in this game. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. So, you make an interesting point about how regardless of what happens at the end of this tournament, Portugal needs to move on. I think that's going to be a really good topic of conversation for our next podcast, because I have some pretty strong opinions about that, because unfortunately, with just the way the time schedule is, we're about a year and a couple months away from the start of the World Cup. So is there enough time to make that change? So if you have any questions about that or comments, send them to us and we can have that discussion, maybe the next podcast, depending what happens with Portugal, France. We're starting to run up against the time here, against the clock. So let's go to the Sagi-Star of the week. And let me tell you, my friends, it's not pretty. We're going to go with a hope and a prayer. And that's what we need. We need a hope and a prayer to be the Sagi-Star of the week. Hopefully we can get things done on Wednesday. But in all seriousness, what do you guys think?
Sagi-Star of the week, we got to say Ronaldo. After what he's been doing this tournament, he's had a wicked tournament. He has 3 goals and assists. And even that goal against Germany, what a goal. He came back. He defended that cross hit. He headed it out. He ran the length of the field, the whole length in 10 seconds at 36 years old. Finished it. Having a leader like that in a locker room shows a lot to everybody else. If this guy can do that at 36, what's your excuse? So for me, he's my Sagi-Star of the week, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Ronaldo is the Sagi-Star of the week. I think I'm going to have to throw in a Sagi bomb of the week. And my Sagi bomb of the week is Fernando Santos. Just completely let us down. Let the team down, let the fans down, let the country down. Not only with his tactics, but his mentality. Yeah. To me, he was a complete disappointment.
Yeah, my Sagi bomb is Fernando Santos too, and he's number 1 for sure. But a close second.
There's a lot of bombs this week.
There's a lot of bombs. My second is Ruben Smith. I don't want to single out anybody because that was. Oh, sorry. I keep saying Ruben Smith. I'm sorry. Nelson Smith. There was a lot of bombs this week. Lots. But yeah, for me, the way he got beat on that far post all the time, and how close he was to Pep, how poor he was defensively, how poor he was one-on-one. For me, he's other than maybe the center mid where Knaf comes in, he's the next guy out of that line.
If I see William Carvalho in that fucking starting lineup on Wednesday, I'm gonna have a heart attack. There's gonna be tables flipping.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I believe that. If Portugal plays the way they did against Germany, I think we're all just going to have to hide our identities because it's going to be ugly. I'm just going to wear my mask and I'm just going to go like this and we're just go from there.
Hey, Kevin, quick question for you though.
Yeah.
I know we're usually the ones getting the questions here, but was it easier not going to Munich after that? After we got bombed there, 4-2? Was it easier? Was it?
Yeah.
You know what?
You know what? I had this conversation with my husband Graham, and we were saying that it's a love-hate relationship because I would have been thrilled to have seen that Ronaldo goal. I always said right from the very beginning when we got tickets, all I wanted was one Portugal goal. It didn't matter the result. I just wanted to see and experience the excitement of a Portugal goal. And so getting to see Ronaldo score that would have been great. Obviously, the result would have left me pretty unhappy. But I think walking away from the stadium, I would have felt, hey, this was a really pretty cool experience. So, I mean, it is what it is. So, guys, that wraps up another episode, our very first live stream as well. Hopefully this all works out. Love the questions from all of our viewers. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Tudo Tuga podcast on YouTube. So once again, Wednesday, the big game against France. From there, we'll find out if Portugal's going on to the round of 16 or if we're going to be sitting down here and saying what went wrong, ripping our hair out and talking about looking ahead to World Cup in Qatar. So for Christian, Mitch, I'm Kevin Jesus. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to hearing from you. And let's hope that we can get into the round of 16, because if we do, a lot of magic can happen. Força Portugal.
Força. Ciao.
Ciao. Bye.